How you doing, everybody? My name is Chandler Quintin, and this is the trade of the day. It's April 15th, and today is all about Tesla. Tesla today was a roller coaster unlike any other day. It was just brutal. Tesla has been beat up over the past month, and it's just been terrible to watch. We've had a peak on April 3rd at 235, and we are down at the lows today of 184. That's insane. So when I see that, I know that there's a good buying opportunity. However, today I made a mistake trading. Now, I'll show you what I did and how I got out of it, but never trade on emotions because you won't recover the way I did if you were trading emotionally. Now, today we opened up a little higher and went down, so I was looking for a red dog reversal in some way, shape, or form. When we started trading later in the day at around 10:30, RSI on all time frames was just crashing. The 5-minute was at 23. The 15-minute, which I use as my indicator, was at 28, 25. Good place to get in. I got in some 200 calls around this area, and I added here as we went down a little bit lower. And here I was actually up, and then things started to fall apart. Every 15-minute bar was just down, down, down. Now, normally I'd have a stop somewhere around this area, so I'd close flat, especially if I was up at some point. But because RSI didn't recover yet, I didn't feel like it was the time to sell. And there's been dozens and dozens of trades where if I held on to it, I would have lost a little bit more. But if I kept holding a little bit longer and didn't panic, I would have ended up in the black, which is what you want, because at this point I was averaged in, I was all in with most of my account, and I had some funds that were unsettled that I didn't want to trade with. So I figured go big or go home. It's either going to recover or it's going to go lower, and who knows, maybe you'll get a bounce tomorrow, because RSI 2 actually on the daily, I'll change this to RSI 2 very quickly so you can see. RSI 2 is like, at 4. During the day, it was at 2 on the daily. So when, as we discussed, when you're above the 200 and below the 5, that's a good time to buy. If it closed down here, I would have been super excited because the next day we probably would have a bigger jump than tomorrow. But as you remember, this has happened before in one of my last trade videos. So your point to get out, if you're following RSI 2 and you had a perfect trade, you would have gotten in down here on the 5-minute or the 15, or sorry, the 5-minute rather. Down here, RSI 2 is at 2, and then you would have probably sold out right here in the momentum at 99, which is what you want to see on RSI 2, or down here at 1 and out here at 97. But I made a really bad trade. I had less than a 1% gain. But let's say you followed, our pattern of buying into the bottom when RSI is below, 30. You would have got in at the 200 call at, 265. And if you waited till the end of the momentum, you would have got out at 494. So, let's say you got out at 490, 265. And you would have made an 84% gain. So you would have made $8,400 if you invested $10,000 into it. I didn't do that well since I got in over here and I had to squeeze and sneak out around here and here. But it happened. I got out. I recovered. The important thing is to not panic. When you see a day like this, where you're up, you're down wildly, you're up, you're down wildly, take a look at the RSI, the 14-period RSI. If you are making higher highs when you're at lower RSI, so for example, over here we're at RSI of 23, and then over here we're at RSI of 31. We actually have a lower low. Then we still have some downward movement to go. But if you're down here and at the bottom and the RSI is 26 and you're at 184 in the stock, and then you have a nice bump and you come back down and it looks like it's bottoming because RSI is turning around, you're only at 50, you still have some room to go. And even over here is a better example. RSI is getting close to that 30 mark, And we're way higher up than the last time we were at 30. Last time it bottomed at 30, you were down here at 185. So now you're at 191. Things might be looking better. You actually have a potential for a nice bounce there, which you got. So remember, don't panic. Stick to your system, and you'll have way better results than if you just wanted to get out of it. So again, I'm Chandler Quintin, and this has been the Trade of the Day.